I have a quick question, because I think when my wife finally goes back and watches this, which she's watches everything I do, for whatever reason, she has no real interest in gaming.
Good. There you
But
go.
she's very
Bonus.
supportive.
Yeah.
Where'd you get the headphones? Because you have
these
cat
are
ears on your
great ones.
headphones.
They are fabulous. They change colour as well. I just thought, I've just got to have something really silly. I thought at the time, I do more podcast things. I should upgrade my headphone sets or get a nice one. I think these are good. They seem to be like mid-range. They're Razer ones. They've got a little thing. And then I saw they had cat ears, and I thought, well, I've got to, haven't I? Really?
There we go.
It's like,
that's because they're fabulous. My wife and my daughter both would say,
"Oh, the go on." I think I did see a thing. Yeah, I got one on Amazon on the internet, but I think the one that I think they'd really like, because I haven't seen these for, and I think they're hideously expensive, but I did see, I think at Gen Con or something many years ago, someone had made cat ears for cosplay, and they were like they got sort of Furby technology in them or something, so that the idea was they would sit going beep, 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 and it was something to, and I think it had something to do with the movements of your head, or how hot your head was or something, so it would supposedly react to your emotions. I don't think it actually did react to your emotions, but it got some sort of thing that would mean it would independently go, I think if you looked up, the ears would just go whoop with you and things. But yeah,
my daughter occasionally does Star Trek cosplay with me.
Yeah.
I do some Star Trek, and she has one of her Star Trek Adventures characters is a Cation.
Yes,
and she did semi-Cation. She had a tail, and she had some ears, but her ears didn't move. They were just a decorative little headband, but she was fine with that. She laughed it up. Doug Jones thought it was hilarious.
Nice.
We met Doug Jones at one convention, and
I did.
He's a great guy.
I did get forced into getting. I think mine are wolf ears. I think I've got from. So a couple of friends of mine were like, "Oh, we're all going to have ears when we go out for a meal. You've got to go ears and a tail." To be fair, the tail is really soft and gorgeous, so I quite like that. But I was like forced into. It's like, it's Gen Con. We're spending money. Buy. Okay, you've got to buy. Okay. I will get cat ears and a tail. So I have I think it's a wolf one and a tail. The ears do go nicely on my hat, actually, because I've got a hat I usually do, and I could put the cat ears on because they would clip on once on that.
Of course.
But yes, but I've got a wizard hat now. That's my convention hat, so I've changed over.
Fantastic. You stop making noise. I do not need more technology interrupting. Okay, well, we've been at this for nearly 10 minutes. Let's do it.
Yes.
All right. Hello, shipmates. Welcome back to the channel. Tonight, sort of like we did last week, we are doing something a little different. Not completely incompatible, but a little different. Tonight, I'm having a chat with Andrew Peregrine, the program manager for several RPGs. But the one we're really concerned about tonight is Space 1999, which is coming out real soon now.
Yeah.
Andrew, say hello.
Hi, how are you doing, everyone? Glad to be aboard.
So, which came first for you, Trek or 1999?
Oh, well, you'll know this because you're about the same age as me, that when people said this, I think another thing about Star Trek things, said, "Oh, what got you into Star Trek?" You have to say, well, that's because that's all there was when I was little.
Yeah.
We didn't have this golden age of like a new sci-fi show, mega budget sci-fi show coming on every 5 minutes. So it was like Space 1999, Star Trek, Doctor Who, and hoping that Star Wars would be on the bank holiday again. Possibly also Star Maidens was another one that's just you never see anywhere. Similar thing, but of course Space 1999 had an edge for me because of course it was British, so
Right.
It was nice to see all this happening, but they are so similar, and it's why I wanted to do this particularly with Modiphius and use the 2D20 system, because I wanted these games to be compatible with each other. So so it was 2D20 was the obvious choice there for that. Because
and I'm here to tell you, as a fan of both, I appreciate this.
Yeah, exactly. But
so the relationship with the Modiphius and Jerry Anderson Productions have, it goes back a ways, doesn't it? I mean, you got Modiphius has had Thunderbirds for
well, just say Modiphius
in some way for ages,
a lot of different pies, I think. Yes. But yes, they did the Thunderbirds one. It's mostly so when I was doing Dune with Modiphius, that my first thought was, oh, well, you guys already know Anderson, don't you? So have you heard of Space 1999? And I just started needling because my inner 7-year-old was going, ask them, make it happen. So and there are many things to say. I love Space 99. I thought this is the perfect company to do it with. This is the perfect thing to happen. And so I nagged a lot, and they said, no, don't be ridiculous. And so we talked a bit, and I thought, well, actually, if I believe in it, I'm going to put my hand in my own pocket for this one. And I said to them, well, could we do it as a third-party thing? And they said, yeah, okay, that's it, because Modiphius has got a really good way of doing, essentially what they do is, if they like a game that you're producing, they can take on some of the print costs and distribution to help you get your game out there. So it's a really good help for independent game designers and writers. And I thought, well, if I can use that program, but can you have the conversation with Anderson, because you've got the relationship, I'm just, they had no idea who I am. And so they had a chat, and I did the Quickstart was my pitch document, because you have this thing with a lot of companies who obviously, Star Trek, Space 99, whatever, they've got these cool science fiction things, but they're not necessarily role players. In fact, it's very, very rare to find company people who actually know what you're talking about. So we say we'd like to do a role-playing game, and they go, well, what is that? What's it do? Is there a board? Whereas if I thought to myself, if I pitch with the Quickstart, I'm showing them a product. And that seemed to really work. They responded to that because they could see that. Actually, Modiphius for a while was thinking, actually, maybe, now I see what he's doing. Actually, this might be really good. So they were really supportive from that. And then Anderson, of course, went and said, actually, you know what, we've been thinking about getting into this role play thing. We just hadn't really had a proper connection with someone that really got started on it. So we'd like to do it. And I'm like, as far as I'm concerned with all of these things, I just want to sit in a corner and write. The whole production process of games is the thing that takes you away from doing the writing. So when Anderson said that, I was over the moon. So it's like, brilliant. It's going to go out there. Modiphius is going to hold their hand into the role-playing market. And I have this wonderful idea, because it's a wonderfully utopian idea, that we're going to find a load of Space 1999 Anderson fans who are going to discover role-playing, and equally we're going to find a load of role players who are going to discover all these Anderson worlds, Space 99, Space Precinct, UFO, all the Thunderbird stuff. Some really great science fiction and stories out there. And I love that these two markets that might not have met each other beforehand, hopefully there'll be a bit of a trade in customers there, and everyone will find something new here. So that'll be really good.
Yeah, and I love that, because it's there are, growing up, I mean, I've been doing this role-playing thing for way more years than I care to recount.
Yeah, let's not get into the counting. Yeah, I'm with
you. Long time. Growing up, there were 3 properties that I didn't think would ever have RPGs. They were my big trifecta, and 2 of them were announced last year: Planet of the Apes, from Magnetic Press, and Space 1999. Wow. It's like I remember seeing that announcement. I'm going, wait, just a damn minute.
Yeah.
and John Masick, the guy who put the Facebook group together, he and I were like on instant messenger almost. Am I reading this right? I see the picture, but am I actually reading this right? Is there a Space 1999 role-playing game in the works? And we're going, why, yes, there appears to be a 19. Well, so I'm going to manifest the third the third one on my list, and you and I have talked about it. It's UFO.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, trust me.
And
I've had thoughts.
I am sincerely hoping that this thing sells tons.
Yeah.
And I've seen the Anderson marketing site. They don't give up.
No. Oh no.
They're
lovely guys.
They are persistent, and I love that about it. I mean, they go out of stock all the time, but stuff comes back. But I mean, once it's up there, it never goes away.
Oh yeah. Well, this is the joy of these sort of, I say for want of a better, old licenses, is that it may not be sort of like the thing that sets the world on fire or the big new thing that everyone's talking about. But the people who are into it, they've been into it for now like 40 years. They're not going away.
Yeah.
You don't. If you've been into something for this long, you're going, yeah, I'm still into it. They're still interested.
Yeah.
And that's
1999
very
is
dedicated.
50 years old this year.
Yeah, I don't want to hear it.
Every time I look at some of these numbers, it's like, good God.
Well, the worst thing is why I like one of the reasons I love Doctor Who so much is because every time there's an anniversary, I'm still younger than Doctor Who. Everything else, I go, oh God, am I older than that? At least Doctor Who, I go, oh, it's 60. I'm not 60 yet. We're all right. I'm okay.
Yeah. I lost touch about the time Sylvester McCoy took over. Tom Baker's my doctor. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's the one I was brought up with. As well. It's interesting. I chat to my friend. We'll go way on to Doctor Who. I love Doctor Who, so that's fine. But
I have no objection to making detours on this channel.
I
think people may have noticed.
Buckle in. So, so my friend Walt, we also chat about this. We worked on partnership on a lot of Doctor Who books between us, and he was introduced to Doctor Who, I think, probably later in his life, but at about the same time, weirdly, because when he started seeing the American channels, they had the very last John Pertwee episodes and then went into the Tom Baker ones. So that was the ones when I was the right age to start watching Doctor Who. I was watching Tom Baker ones, so I was probably like 10 years younger, but we both kind of started at the same time, which I think was really lovely.
Yeah, I was 17 or 18 when I started watching it. It would show on PBS over here. On the weekends, they would, and a couple of friends of mine were like really tremendously into it. I was never as big a fan as some of them, but I remember just one of the, I think it was one of the Christmas specials, where Matt Smith was looking at this painting, and somebody said, "Yeah, I think you'll like this. You could be a curator." And it's like, I know that voice. I know that voice. And you turn around, and the man is still getting around, moving around. It's like, God, it's the Doctor. Yes. Talking to the Doctor, but he's not really the Doctor at the moment because.
But he's like the 270th Doctor. Is he, or is he not?
God only knows at this point. But I'm just like, but it's like the fact that they were able to bring him in without it being archival footage.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, you can't bring in John. You couldn't bring in John Pertwee. You could bring in Sean.
Mind you, they have, of course, done, we've had about 3 or 4 people now play the first Doctor. Because, of course, William Hartnell did it, then Richard Hindal did it for the 5 Doctors. And now, of course, we've got Bradley, I can't remember his first name now, who's, again, phenomenal actor. So maybe there are ways to sort of recast him, which is a slightly weird way of recasting the recasting of the recast.
Of the recasting.
It's very weird. Yeah,
it is. But I just remember squealing with glee when he walked on. It's like, okay.
I must admit, for me, the one that did that for me was the return of the Eighth Doctor in the anniversary special, and I was so glad I saw it when it did, because I clicked on something on my Facebook turned up, or something, new Doctor Who thing, and there were lots of these things turning up because it was the anniversary, and I thought, start watching this, and then Paul McGann steps out and goes, "I'm a doctor, but maybe not the one you're expecting." Lost my mind at work, because I'm sitting in the lighting office, and I was so
and then he regenerates into freaking John Hurt.
Yes. And I was so glad that I watched it when I did, because pretty much the minute I turned it off, my Facebook feed was full of people sharing his costume and saying, "Isn't this amazing?" It's like, horrible spoilers. People wouldn't do this. It was just full of spoilers, and if I'd watched it like 10 minutes later, I would have ruined that moment, which is a great shame. So I was really glad I got it when I did. Yeah.
So, since we both know that first series of 1999 and the second series of 1999 are two actual different shows, do you have a preference?
Yeah, different style. It's a tricky one. I like some bits from both. I think I'm probably edging towards the first. I think when I was younger, I liked the second one possibly more, because I thought Maya was cool, like turning into all kinds of creatures and things.
Oh yeah, and that was actually my introduction. Was second series.
Yeah, and of course I've got, by that point I was still scarred from watching Dragon's Domain in the first series. So
that'll do it.
Yeah, but I think where I look at my favourite episodes, I think certainly. I think it's The Last Enemy. The end of season 1 is, I think, really my favourite episode. I love the politics and the whole, and that really encapsulates Space 1999 for me, because it's that one where the two planets just use the moon as basically as a staging ground, a weapons platform. And that just summed up what really made Space 1999 different, because it said these people don't have any control. They haven't got a mega warp drive to get out of it or anything. They are stuck on this moon, and things are just going to happen to them. And sometimes they're completely outclassed. But this is what we put into the game, that this is a time that humanity was not ready to do this yet. In the sort of, and I think they sort of intimate this in Star Trek when they meet the Borg, and when Q throws them into space where
Delta
the Borg
Quadrant,
are. And he says, Picard says to Q at the end, this isn't fair, because by the time we had met these guys, we might have been ready for them, and now they know we're here. You've done it ahead of time. And I think it's the same with Space 1999. We've got rockets. We've got a base on the moon, and we were looking at sending probes out to extrasolar system planets, but we weren't meant to travel the galaxy yet. So I like that they're often so hopelessly outclassed. And those particularly sides, I was going on about this one quite a lot, because it's one of my favourite things as well, is that so many episodes in the first series end with Cody talking to Burnham and saying,
All right, technology.
Yeah. Can you hear me again?
I can hear you. I can see you.
Can you see me as well? Oh, thank God. I think what it is when my computer's rebooted, it gets back running again, and then it takes a while for all the little accessories and things to finally get their way again.
It happens that way.
Apologies for that. That's my computer.
Well, you warned us. As soon as it happens, I know what happened.
Yeah.
he warned me about this. All right.
There we go.
Okay, let me see if I can make this little bit of technology work. I want to share that. Get back here so I can see what my screen actually looks like. There. Okay, there we go. It's actually doing more or less what I want it to do, which is, always a nice change of pace.
Yes. Love it when technology works. Yeah.
When it works. Was this stock footage? Did this get composited
It's a mixture of things. We've got a lot of the new images that we've got for the role-playing game actually come from the technical manual, which was one of the things which I highly recommend. I mean, I've got one.
It's on my list of things to get.
Yeah,
I've put it on my birthday list.
This is, I mean, and I know this it's not just shameless advertising, but this is pretty much your first supplement. To be honest, it's got, and it's the thing that actually convinced me that this is viable just from a marketing and sales point of view, because you often find this with role-playing games. There are things you absolutely love, but you think, you have to also think, is this a viable product? Does it have enough outreach to make it worth printing X amount of copies? And chatting to Anderson, this book did really well, which says, not only do we know that there are Anderson fans out there and Space 1999 fans who are willing to buy into these products, but also that it was both UK and America. So it was crossing boundaries, it was getting out to a good market. And those are all the things that add together to make it a viable product. But a lot of these images have come from the tech manual. And we've repurposed them because there's loads of amazing pictures about, Alpha and the crew quarters and the inside of Eagles and things like that. It's an amazing book. It almost feels, I think a lot of people have said this, they've got the technical manual for this, and they do them for UFO and Shadow and all kinds of things. And people have read these and gone, this is basically a role-playing game, but without a system and character creation. But it kind of feels like the setting book. And I think a lot of people picked these up and went, actually, why isn't this a role-playing game? It's kind of steeping with it. And of course, there was me going, I'm going to make it happen.
And like I say, I'm glad you. So, were the layout people all Anderson? Were they all Modiphius? Did they just
it's a mixture.
Confer with one another?
Well, I have an incredible layout designer, Virginia, who has been above and beyond, because when I asked her to do this, she was, as a freelancer. She used to work with Modiphius, but she freelances now. And she was heavily pregnant at the time, and she's also now done this with just having given birth to a new baby. So the stuff she's working on, she's doing the draft of she's doing the main core book as well. So working above and beyond, she's got the little one on her knee, and she's still layouting away. But she was incredible, because we didn't know what Anderson quite wanted, so we looked at the tech manual to basically reverse engineer it for the Quickstart, and then to create this sort of pitch document. And then, of course, once Anderson had taken this on board, she could then get all of their actual InDesign files and discover just how close she was, and she did a spot-on job. So now, then when she had the real files, we could then see where things were going and see all those sort of things that I would never notice, but graphic designers notice. They're using a 0.7 bleed, not a 0.6 bleed, things like this. It's like, I've got no idea. But no, I have to say, without Virginia, this just wouldn't have happened, this game. So she's been absolutely phenomenal.
Well, it's like the Quickstart is gorgeous. I gushed about it in a previous video because it's just spectacular. And Sandra, she is so ridiculously pretty. did you? Did you just kind of kit bash the rules from the SRD? Did you drag Nathan in?
Oh well, this is I've never read the SRD. Very bad. This is, for me, what this is given that I'm a big Star Trek fan, and of course, of a Dune is where I came into the 2D20 system from. This is kind of a version of Star Trek Adventures and Dune put together, and it's quite interesting to know that I wasn't quite privy to all the second edition Star Trek stuff, but interestingly, the choices they made for the second edition have actually brought it closer to what I've done here. So things like,
I noticed there were no challenge dice, which is
I also I wanted this as well to be something that boiled down 2D20 a little bit more, because you were going to have new people diving into this. Didn't want to give them too many rules to worry about to get stuck in and playing the game, because that's the thing. Because these rule books can be very intimidating if you're not used to role playing. A lot of people go, "What's this?" So it's another thing we address in the book. I'm a big fan of saying to people, the reason it's a big book is because it's lots of options to help you. It's not a mass of rules you've got to know and understand before you can play. It's a guide. It's a bonus.
We're not that other game.
Yes. So it's those sort of things, and I just like the idea of quicker combat, so you don't really have the sort of I can't remember the stress system from Star Trek where you might get knocked out. This one you get defeated, but I've put in the spirit system from Dreams and Machines, so that you can go, well, I'm going to spend a point and be back in the game again. So I want these, because a lot of things, again, when you're doing science fiction, combat gets very brutal very quickly because the weapons are more advanced. So people get shot. Yeah. They're either immune to lasers or they fall over. It's as simple as that. And I obviously feel for the
we have zap guns.
And of course I feel for the Space 99 security guards the same way we do as UNIT, in that it seems that everything they meet is immune to lasers, just as everything in Doctor Who is immune to bullets. But the plucky lads keep trying, and good for them. But it must be tough being a security guard.
It's tough in Starfleet too, because it's the same deal. It's like, oh look,
they don't walk away.
Personal shields. They're bouncing phasers. It's
So that sort of thing. And then of course I took what I knew from Dune, what I wanted to adapt and shift, just for what I felt would work best for the game. And then we've got it. That was, and Nathan had a look at it. He went, "Yeah, that works." So that was all cool. So because I wanted him to look, because the 2D20 is his baby, so I certainly didn't want to do anything that Nathan hadn't had a look at. Not only for his skill and experience with the system, because he was like, "Oh, if you do that, you ruin that and that." Oh, I noticed that. But he seemed really pleased with it, and it seemed to work. He didn't find any obvious horrible flaws in it, so we carried on. And the other thing I've added in is the hope mechanic. So that's the other mechanical thing we have there, because I wanted something to represent. I'm a big fan. I don't know whether I'm alone in role playing on this or not, but I'm a really big fan of the day-to-day life of your characters. What have they been eating and drinking? What have they been watching on telly? How are they feeling about stuff? Who do they like? Who do they not like? How was their day at work? For me, those all really build up the atmosphere and the feel that put you in the setting. They help smell the coffee and feel what's going on. So I wanted this hope mechanic to say, you are to remind people you are in a moon hurtling through space. You will never see your loved ones again unless they came with you on this moon base, and every day you could potentially die. It's psychologically wearing, and so
it's got to be rough.
So I've represented that with the hope mechanic, which is basically your character has a thing that keeps them going. And that's the thing you could use as a trait in the game, but it's also a way you can regain determination. So you can play out what we call a hope scene, because I noticed a lot of scenes in the series, the one that particularly comes to mind is the one in the Lambda Factor, where some of them all get psychic powers. And one of them starts with a woman in the medical office, sorting out all the pills in the stores while she's complaining about Dr. Russell. Oh, Dr. Russell, I've hated doing this. I suppose I got, she's so dictatorial. I hate it. And then she is horribly murdered by someone's psychic force. But I thought I wanted to put the player characters not necessarily murdered by psychic force, but doing those day-to-day things. So you represent that by playing out some of these hope scenes, which is how you've been getting on. It just frames what your character's been up to, how they're feeling that day before adventure comes calling. And if it goes well, if it's an experience they have that helps their confidence, they get some more spirit back from that as well. So that's part of how to mirror those minor scenes into the game as well.
Right. Yeah, I've always been a big fan of those too. Adapting some of my old Trek games and trying to adapt to getting used to STA's scene economy. It's like, it's like there's been a balance because I for years I ran it's like just kind of a day-to-day thing until it was time to actually do something, and then I would drag the players kicking and screaming into whatever happened next. But most of my players, as I was growing up in high school and in the Air Force, that's what they like to do. They like to do the day-to-day things, and it can be done in STA. I mean, I've figured out how to do it, but the momentum economy in STA, it's all based on scenes, and you change scenes, you lose a point of momentum, and so on and so forth. So it's been a balancing act, but I really like that kind of mechanic. I like that it's kind of baked into the system here in what we see of 1999 so far.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've got any extra bits in the core book that aren't detailed in the Quickstart. So you won't find too much in the core book that goes, oh, here's a whole new mechanic I haven't explained. But what we do in the core book is give you more options. So when we go into hope scenes, for instance, there's a swathe of examples for things you might try with that. We've got, how to do NPCs, characters, and all those sort of things there. But I think the Quickstart shows you all the sort of, if you like, the bells and whistles, the things you're going, oh, this is what they've done differently, and this is how it all fits together. So it's got most of what you need for the to introduce you to the core book there.
Yeah,
and then the core book just helps you run all that.
I got a real good feel for it going through the Quickstart, so bravo there. Good job.
Cool, thank you. It's made with love.
Yeah. Well, that's the best way to do it. I think that's one of the reasons so many of the properties that we work on, at Modiphius, I do a lot of freelancing for Jim when he has something that needs to be done.
And I nag him constantly as well. I would love to do more stuff in writing as well.
That's one of the things that I love is that all the products that I have dealt with, for sure STA, but I've looked through Dreams and Machines. I have not had a whole lot of cause to look at Dune. I loved Herbert's book, and I was thinking, how the hell do you role play in this? And that's going to be a conversation for another day.
Absolutely. But say my answer to that would be pick up the core book and I'll show you.
It's on my birthday list too.
Cool.
But does it handle character generation the same way that the STA does with a life path, or do you have a different?
No, I didn't want to go into a life path because again, mostly I wanted to cut down on how big the book was going to be.
Gotcha.
And so it's mostly you sort of develop your character through picking the skills and bonuses and things. There is a whole swathe of new talents for those, you see. So we've got particularly British ones like Nice Cup of Tea, which I'm particularly proud of. That was a quick start. Also things like strange dreams and visions, and you can of course play alien characters. Now I've saved that goes into the GMs section. So that because I think it's very much something the GMs would be modifying moderating? Do they want alien characters? A lot of people are going to play that sort of thing because they'll see, it's my gateway to play a superhero. And it's like, well, just because you're alien, you don't have to have a weird special power. And in fact, the more interesting ones probably don't. But you also should have the option. But you should also have the option to play someone like Maya. So, as it seems, despite being last of the Psychons, they also seem to turn up quite a lot as well.
My first exposure to 1990 was second series, and it's like, oh wow! So now we've got Xenia Merton, who was extraordinarily easy on the eyes, and now you got Catherine Schell, who is also easy on the eyes.
Yes.
I loved growing up in the 70s.
Well, also, as we've said before, and Tony Vadeshi, who also easy on the eyes. I know a lot of people who have gone, he was what they were watching it for. So, yeah.
That is not the only reason I'm watching, but I'm here to tell you, as a preteen going right into my teen years, when I discovered the show, it didn't hurt.
Right, we're right there with you.
The one issue I've had with layout so far is she missed the little white ring that they got on the other chapter headers for the.
We'll double check that one then. Yes.
It doesn't affect anything at all. It's just an aesthetic thing. But
it's because we are still in process with the core book, and it is looking amazing. I can't show you any of it, obviously, but it's
that was one of the things I was going to ask. Is when do we?
Well, I can't announce anything because both Modiphius and Anderson will string me up. But we are. We are looking at through the last of the layout bits. I'm hoping. It's the most frustrating thing I can say. I'm hoping we'll have something soon. But I can say it is happening. It is moving forward. It's all going. And Virginia's doing amazing work. It's the manuscript is all done and dusted. We're into layout. And hopefully, it shouldn't be too far away. And of course, if you've pre-ordered, you're going to get the PDF. I think as soon as we can get it out to you.
I actually had somebody take pity on me because I was, year end. Gosh, I don't have any money. I will put this on my birthday list. And somebody said, "Would you like it now?"
Awesome.
Yes. Yes, I would. Well, I will pre-order it for you. So, thank you. So, like I say, I have I've learned over the years that I've got some really good friends.
Awesome.
So, if this is as successful as you and I both hope it will be, we're gonna get UFO, right? Because if I'm honest,
I would like to bear in mind as the writer and lead driving force behind this, I have no idea. So I have.
I'm just I'm just thinking because as much as I like 1999, I was really much more into UFO, the whole spy
this is
intrigue.
What I find interesting as well. Yeah, so it's. We're onto the sort of wishful thinking level of things, so none of this is official. Of course, it very much we'll only really know from Anderson and to a certain degree Modiphius how well this is done when we see sales, pre-order sales. I mean, pre-orders have been good, so I'm hopeful we will be able to do more because we have had a really good response, and I've been really excited by what we're able to do because of that. But no, I think Anderson will just do one at a time because this is a completely new market for Anderson, and it's quite a scary one because there's so much stuff in role playing and so many particular ways of doing things that are only particular to role playing, and it is it's a minefield, and it's been. I mean, what I have loved, and hopefully we will have a podcast of this. I ran a game of Space 1999 for Jamie Anderson and the podcast guys, a friend of mine, because they wanted to show how the game plays. So we had such fun
I
with
would
that.
love to see Jamie playing this.
And it came from a thing because I don't know if you've seen, there is a wonderful interview with, I think, Deborah Ann Wolfe and the guy who played the Punisher, whose name I can't remember. And they talk about D&D, and he
John
says to her,
Bernthal.
"What do you do?" That's the guy. And it's a wonderful interview because she explains why role-playing is good and how easy it is to just role-play. And it's something I've often done to people that say, "Oh, well, let's role-play right now. So you're standing here, what do you do?" And I kind of did this to Jamie. We were chatting in one of the Space 1999 conventions, just a few, I think September, I think. And he said, "Oh, so how do you do it?" I said, "Well, tell me what your favorite department is. You've got he said scientists. I said, right, well, you come back from lunch, you get to your science laboratory, but the doors are closed, the alarms are going off, your assistant is outside with a look of panic and fear on their face, and they're saying, I'm glad you're back, doctor, because it's all gone wrong." I said, "You look through the window and all your plants have turned blue." And he's, what's going on? So what are you going to do? I opened the door. I looked at him, open the door. Brave choice. What am I doing? It was, and so we had a sort of chat through that. Of course, I couldn't run a whole game from there, but we were walking back to the stand afterwards. And he said, I kind of get it now, but also I want to know why my plants were blue. He got inspired from that moment of how role-playing works and how we've got these stories and that leads to things. So, of course, coming from that is what I ran for them when we do that. Hopefully we'll be on the Anderson podcast at some point soon. So the adventure I ran for them was basically why Jamie's plants were blue at the time. So it was and this is what I love about role, because that inspired me, because I go away from that thinking, why were the plants blue? What could have done that? What kind of adventure does that produce? And this is the wonderful thing about role-playing, as you know, that we bounce backwards and forwards. GMs are learning from their players are learning from their GM, and we're all making this story together. And that's what's really exciting always. So.
Oh, I hope they'll put that up, because that sounds like it would be spectacular. Just the concept of watching Jerry and Sylvia's son playing.
Yes.
Oh my goodness!
They're lovely guys. I say I had great fun playing them.
Great, that's fantastic. With STA, we shied away from putting all the main characters in the book, because the book was already gigantic.
Oh god, yes. And
will the main characters
do you pick?
yeah, because you got a bunch,
quite a lot of Star Trek. I mean, it's like, how is there this much Star Trek in the world at this point? It's it's great, but it's ridiculous.
Something's been around for 60 years, and they keep making new shows. It's like,
for that.
But are like Commander Koenig and Dr. Russell and Maya and they're all in the core book?
They're all in the book.
Okay.
Not necessarily all of the very minor ones, like say Yasko or some of the others, or Tanya Alexander, for instance. We haven't got around to starting them up, but yes, everyone that they got their name on the credits. They say so. Alan Carter, Koenig, Dr. Russell, Maya, everyone. I mean, because this is the other thing. It was interesting. I think someone was talking to me saying they were planning to do, as might have been on the Disco, they were planning to run it as 20 years later. So all of Commander Koenig and all of those characters are still on the base, but they basically retired, and they've left Alpha to effectively the next generation. The younger officers who have now taking things over. And that's a lovely idea, because you can keep those characters you love. You can go to Koenig for advice, because it's one of the reasons we love licensed games, is you can interact with your favorite characters at the same time.
Yeah.
But also it's lovely for the characters to have agency there. So it's a brilliant idea.
That's great. That's a great idea. I hadn't even thought of that. My big thing was, because I was more into the spy-like intrigue and the secret agencies and stuff from UFO. the concept of Shadow's moon base still being on the moon since what became Space 1999 was originally going to be the second season of UFO.
Well, if you look, you'll be doubly excited to look in the technical manual, because there is a note in the technical manual showing a picture. It's a lovely picture of two orange spacesuited Space 1999 characters going into this old ruined cavern with the interceptor hangars that are all gathering dust. And it's an amazing picture. I just turned the page and went, what? So yeah, there's a note that there were other facilities that they didn't talk about because, of course, Shadow was super secret. Nobody knew about it. Whereas, of course, Space 1999 is of course scientific.
Nearly 20 years later, and in setting, the distant year 1980.
Yeah, so they have linked them together a little bit, and I would love to do. I already have. I mean, I've surreptitiously been working on a Quickstart for UFO, as you see, planning out what I do with it. It's one thing I'd like to do now. I'd like to do adventure books for Space 1999 GM screen. It all depends on how well the book goes. How well Anderson does out of that book, obviously, as to whether to do any more things. I mean, my inner 7-year-old will be satisfied with seeing a cool book, but I think there is so much we can do. They have so many properties, and then I will have a conversation with Jamie and the team and say, okay, with my experience as a role player, these are the sort of things we could also do. Are you interested in any of those? And they may think, we should focus on Space 1999, or it's like, well, let's do a broader range and try and get a core book out for more things and see which ones take off people like. So there's a lot of options, and see what
the differences in tone
as well.
Let's blue sky here for just a minute. With the differences in tone, would it use the same flavor of 2D20 that you're using in 1999, or would it lean more into like Dune or?
Well, as they talking in terms of on the assumption I get to do everything I want. Which is not always
we're spitballing here. They've given us.
Certainly I would want to do UFO with the same system. I mean, exactly the same system, and I think it will fit that way. Maybe it's a couple of renamed things, but because of course you don't need hope in the same way, but there are different things you would do with the same mechanic. And again, putting together presumably a group of player characters who are investigating alien stuff. So kind of a 1970s X-Files set in the 1980s, in the future, in the past. So, because it's the thing that I find frustrating, but also quite good for role playing with UFO, is we have no idea why the aliens were doing it. Every time they have a reveal episode to say, this is what the aliens were really doing, it's different from the previous one. It's like no one was driving the train. So you've got, as a GM, as a game setting, you've got so much scope for what are the aliens actually are, what do they want, and so many weird, mysterious things. So there's a lot of role playing, very more earthbound. But of course, you want to have the option for characters to be able to jump in an interceptor or be part of Skydiver or something as well.
Yeah.
So that's also something I'd have in mind while creating that sort of adventure. I've been thinking about it. Yeah. We will see. Maybe we'll get to do it. Maybe we won't. I don't know. I'm hopeful.
Actually,
I am hopeful.
I hope we do, but I'm either way. I hope that this book does well, because, like I say, that was a third of the childhood dream.
Yeah.
That
well, of course, my extra one was Blake 7. That's the other nostalgia thing that is on that, and if I could figure out how to do it, Sapphire and Steel. That's the other two I'd like to do, but I have been looking into Blake 7 quite seriously. I haven't got anywhere. I used to add before anyone.
Well, that's an entirely different kettle of worms. I'm given to understand in terms of of licensing, but
yes, that's all starting.
Sapphire Steel, David McCallum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there are now also, Big Finish did a whole series of Sapphire and Steel audio dramas with, I think, Susanna Harker and David Warner, who, again, brilliant casting.
Oh, wonderful.
And they were worth doing. So it's a tricky one to create an adventure for. Very hard because you've got sort of weird godlike powers. You'd have to very much tell. I'm not quite sure how you'd quite do it, but something possibly on the more systemless, like Amber Nobilis, things like that, where you can apply powers in certain ways. But because of course what Sapphire and Steel can actually do is not very well defined specifically for the needs of a role-playing game. So it's tricky. But this is the thing. When games designers get together, they will usually chat about what license they would love to do, what their favourite. Because sometimes you see things where I love that show, but it's not a role-playing game. It hasn't got a thing. And other times you go, this is just pure role-playing. So it's like Firefly. It was clearly Traveller. It's like everyone watched Firefly thinking, obviously Joss Whedon is a Traveller player. That's why he's done this show, because it's Traveller.
It's clearly Traveller. And I was unfortunately it was probably in a bad headspace when Firefly came out. One of these days I need to actually sit down with the box set and give it a chance.
Well, from that one, give it a chance at least up to the episode called Shindig, which is about episode 4. Don't start with Shindig. It won't make the same amount of sense. But in that episode, all of the character stuff suddenly kicks into gear. And I've known so many people watch Firefly go, the first few episodes, West in space, it was all right, not that interested. Then they watch Shindig and all the character stuff kicks off and they go, oh, now I'm hooked. But I do remember someone saying to me at a convention, because I worked on 3 Firefly things now, kind of. And one of them was Margaret Wise Productions. We were working on the stand for that, and somebody came to me and said, with it, sort of expecting the gatekeeper fan thing, saying, I have to say I've not watched any Firefly. You're going to hate me. And I said, yes, I hate you. I wish I was you. You've got a whole series and a film to watch. Do you know what a Firefly fan would give for another series and a film to watch? It's like, you have so much ahead of you. I'm so jealous. This is going to be amazing. So I said all this, you'll go, watched it, I hated it. But it's one of my favourite things.
Actually, it's entirely possible, considering the time that it came out, that I was just not in the right headspace for it, because it had a lot going on.
It's actually a better time to watch it now, because they put, when I watched it, friends of mine were recording it from American television downloads and things, and they showed it in the wrong order. They didn't put the first episodes first. So many confusing old things were going on about how they put it together. When they released it on DVD, they put all the episodes in the right order. They gave them all the right bits together. So it's actually a much better experience to watch it basically the way it was meant to, rather than the way they sort of threw it together on American television at the time.
Well, American television did that a lot. Don't get me started on the Babylon 5 sequel series, Crusade.
Oh God, yes, that was cut short before.
So much potential.
I think there are some things I think were fails with that. I didn't like their battle scenes where they basically just slowed everything down and it didn't work. But the idea and the techno mages and the growing campaign, it didn't get a sharp chance to show us what it could do. And sadly, I think a lot of the fans were going, I just want more Babylon 5, so I don't like this, which is always a shame. But yes, no, that was a good one.
Yeah, I mean, if you skip Crusade, you don't get Peter. I will learn to talk here in a minute. Peter Woodward.
Yes, because Galen
was absolutely brilliant. Yeah. I still remember the Equalizer episode that he did with his father.
I didn't realize he did one. Oh, that's awesome.
I don't think I'm making that up.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's
But the talent definitely definitely migrated from one generation to the other. It was fantastic. It was just remarkable watching him work in Crusade, and it's like, oh wow, it's over. It's
and for the same reason, we'd love to see Sean Pertwee do something in Doctor Who, anything.
Yeah, that would be remarkable.
Yeah.
Well, Andrew, it is 2:00 in the damn morning where you are.
It is, yes. It's
time
for telly, yes.
But I thank my lucky stars that you're a night owl, and
yes, this works. It's so much easier with Americans because you're on my time scale. This is my real job being in the theatre, so I'm always shifted. I don't do mornings.
I wouldn't if I could avoid it.
Yeah.
If I could get away with not doing mornings, I would. But,
oh yes, this is why I chose my career very carefully.
It makes sense, yeah. But I appreciate you taking the time out this evening to come and chat.
I hope I've talked enough about Space 1999.
Oh,
we've gone off on every tangent. I'm not doing that. That's great.
I have ADD. It's like focus. What's that?
Cool. Marvelous.
My entire household is neurodivergent. It's
cool.
It's like we're thinking of getting T-shirts from you. It's like what did you expect? My daughter is trying to put a D&D campaign together.
Oh, I love it.
I'm
not.
When
your children start off.
It's like she wants to play that game. I'm all for it. I will be there. I mean, I grew up. That's where I started. But we got her a shirt this Christmas. It's a D20 on a 1. It says ADHD and D. Roll for concentration.
I know that it's I know that one. I'm brilliant.
And it's like she is like, honey, we really need to wash that shirt.
Oh, she's definitely a game with it. Yeah.
She loves it. She got her diagnoses later than her brother did. Her oldest brother is autistic and ADHD, and my youngest has Down syndrome. It's an entertaining household sometimes, but she got hers. She got her diagnosis later, and it's like, oh my god, I finally figured out what's going on. It's like my wife and I are going, I was never technically diagnosed, but the word was mentioned a lot around me. You were technically diagnosed. It's like, why didn't we think of this?
I think it's also one of the things that draws neurodivergent people, things like Star Trek particularly, because Vulcans, have got so many neurodivergent traits, and I love. There's a scene I absolutely loved in the new film when Spock loses his planet, and Uhura's trying to console him, and she just wants to hug him, and she says, "What can I do? What can I do?" And he just says, "I want everyone to act at the peak of their abilities,
keep being exceptional,
and just keep being exceptional." And you see Uhura, and it's what I love. You see Uhura take a step back and go, "Okay, that's what you need. That's not how I want to do this, but this isn't about me. This is about what you need, not what I need to do. And I just desperately want to hug you, and that's not what you need. I need to let you do this." And I thought it's just a beautiful scene. It's one of the things I love.
That movie had
diversity thing.
One of the best scenes. Actually, it's a pair of scenes where they kind of bookend each other. Between Spock and Sarek.
Yes.
At the beginning of the movie, young Spock has just gotten into a monumental fight, and and put apparently put 4 or 5 kids in the in the school nurse's office, and it's like they said horrible things about Mother, and it's like, why did you marry? And it's like it seemed like the logical thing to do, and then you get an hour later in the movie, and this is the one that sticks with me always is one of the things I wish they had been able to give Leonard Nimoy and Mark Leonard. Was Zach Quinto and Ben Cross had this beautiful scene in the transporter room, and Spock is trying to get a hold of things. He's just stepped down because he's emotionally compromised, and Sarek is standing there, kind of half in shadow. You asked me once why I married your mother. I married her because I loved her, and I lost it.
Yeah.
It's like,
that is great.
Oh my God, he said it. You've known it for decades.
Yeah.
You've known it since Journey to Babel.
Yes, and it's like, why didn't you
when
say
they're
it
giving,
was not
when they're giving Jane Wyatt a hard time about it, and it's like, oh my God, he said it.
Yeah.
And it's like, people will trash talk that movie, and I will defend it to the end of time based on that scene alone.
Yeah, well, there's things.
I mean, there's a lot more. There's more good stuff in there than people will give it credit for.
Yeah. Well, this is what I always think whenever people or even when I don't like, say, a new episode or a new movie, I'm thinking, well, there'll be another one along. It doesn't invalidate all the stuff I've loved before, and it doesn't suddenly ruin anything that'll come after. It's just, I didn't like that bit. Somebody else might have loved it, and I'm always consoled with the idea that because I didn't like it, somebody else might love it, and that's somebody else coming in and joining the joy of the fandom that we all like. So
every single episode, and there's 1,000 of them, literally.
God,
almost literally. There's every episode is someone's first episode.
Yes, I mean, so
every episode is someone's favorite episode.
Yes.
Somewhere out there was someone who really likes Spock's brain.
Yes. Well, yeah.
I don't understand him.
No,
but
neither do I. But
there's somebody out there who really, for whatever reason, thinks that's
exactly. I did the similar thing with my ex-wife. I was watching a lot of Star Trek. She said I'll give it a go. I picked all. This is my mistake. I picked all of my favorite episodes, like the best of both worlds. She fell asleep in that one.
Oh my gosh!
That's it. She gave it a go. All points to her. Never mind. She's never going to be into this. And then she started watching when I was watching the episode with the Binars, and she thought they were really cute and funny and got into it. And it was like, oh, that's what I should have picked all along. There we go.
Yeah. And I wrote a lot of the characters in the character packs for STA.
Ah, yes.
And one of the things that I had to constantly remind myself when I was working on a character, even if I didn't particularly care for that character. Every character is somebody's favorite character.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like every series is somebody's first. It's somebody's favorite. Yeah. Somewhere there is someone who is really into the guy in the bar that McCoy met in Star Trek 3.
Well, I said this to an actress once. One of the cast when I was doing a show, One Man, Two Governors, was the lovely Gemma Whelan, who is doing. She was one of the characters. She's the pirate daughter in Game of Thrones. So it's quite a minor part, but it's quite a big one. And she did. I was saying to her, "Oh, have you done any of the conventions?" She said, "Oh, well, my agent's been talking about it, but there's, I don't think anyone will even know who my character is." And I said to her, "Well, if I tell you nothing else, not only will there be people who know what your character is, you will be their favourite, and there are people who will burst into tears just at the sight of you. So trust me, it's worth going in that one." And I think because the show was in for years on that one with us, and I think I called her a while later and said, "Did you do anything?" And she said, "Oh yeah, I'm doing more. I love it. People are so responsive. They love the characters." She got really into it, and it was lovely to see. But I thought if I told her anything useful, it was like, people will know who you are. Trust me.
When I've not had that particular experience, but I can sit here and imagine. It's like, if someone says, why would I go? No one is like, I was on screen for 3 minutes, and somebody said, "Yeah," and that's somebody's critical 3 minutes. That sold them on something.
They've already written
know,
14,000 words of fan fiction about your character as well.
Yeah,
it's and
so
it's the love. So yeah.
But I mean that is one of the things that I've come to learn as I've worked within STA, is that there's nothing minor.
Yeah.
Everything is important. And that's why I want 1999 to go well. Because someone somewhere is going to look at this and say, "Oh my God, this is the thing I've been waiting 50 years for."
So, well, this is what I have loved is when we did the announcement, and I was quite surprised. We had lots of pickup from various news sites, things across the thing, far more than I expected, which was really gratifying. But generally, they seem to go between, "What are you thinking, Modiphius? Space 1999," and the other half of people going, "Yes, finally! How long have we been waiting for this?" So it was wonderful to see. The response has been incredible, and way more than I expected we'd see.
I mean, that's why I hate seeing. You'll see some properties licensed, and for whatever reason, the game doesn't fly.
Yeah.
And there are examples, but my brain just decided to let go of any of them.
Sometimes, and I've known from some experience I've had, particularly with licensed properties, that sometimes you can have a group where everyone loves the series. So I particularly had an Angel game with my group, sort of Buffy the Vampire Angel thing. And we'd all watched and loved the series. We all knew it intimately, but we all had completely different ideas as to what the game was about. And what I wanted to run was not the game they wanted to play, despite the fact we knew it all, backwards. And I think it's very easy to do that with any licensed property, is to think, whoever's either making the game or running the adventure or playing the game, quite often, despite the fact you've got this very clear central canon and style to it, you've all taken different things from it, and you can often go, "Oh, that's not what this was about. Why have you done this?" And if this is baked into the game design, if somebody else's idea to what you wanted, they may well argue till the cows come home, this is a spot on way of mimicking it, but somebody else might read it and go, "Oh." So this is why I'm hoping with Space 1999 that what I've done with this one resonates properly with everyone, and they can play the game, because it's an important thing that they can play the game they want to play with it. Because what I'm doing is just delivering a toolbox for you to play the game that you want to play, not the game that I want to play. That's a different thing.
What I've seen so far from the Quickstart, and you and I have chatted online about this more than once, and I just like I said, I don't think you got a lot to worry about, just from what I've seen so far, because I'm like, oh, this looks like a lot of fun. I think one of the things that, if it was a broader fan base, I don't know how Jim handles it with Star Trek.
Oh, Jim is incredible.
I've known Jim for 20 odd years now.
Yeah, no, I used to do similar thing to him for with project management and creative management, and it was, I didn't have enough hours in the day, and he's doing that with Star Trek, and he doesn't miss a beat. He's absolutely phenomenal.
His ability to herd cats is just and I say that as one of the cats that is occasionally herded. It is just remarkable. I don't think, I worked for Sam, and God bless her.
Sam was amazing as well.
But I don't think that if, and this is not anything against Sam. This is a testament to just how good a choice she and Chris made bumping Jim up to the project management spot on there. I don't think we'd have a game. I don't think there'd be a second edition. Really, because, like I say, his ability to herd cats and his absolute obvious love of the property. And I think that's something if you're doing that, you have to love what you're doing.
Absolutely. There's precious little else in role playing apart from, getting able to do something you love. So if you're not doing something you love, why are you bothering? It's
yeah, I mean, but and I was going somewhere with that.
Yeah. Well, it's nice when
I got sidetracked. Yeah, ADHD.
So, yeah.
But
we can end things on love, and that's fun. That's a good place.
There are far worse ways to end a chat. Andrew, thank you so much for staying up and chatting with us. Thank you for giving us some insight and previews into the book. And I hope that when it comes time for, when there's a required human decision, that people make the right one.
Yes. Well, hopefully we'll get you on board as well. So, yes, we should see what happens with that one. I'm very excited for the possibilities. So
all right.
Should say, yeah.
Andrew, thanks for coming by. Cheers.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
Cheers. Take care.